they can, hyping up WrestleMania as much as they can. Shawn Michaels ends up on a podcast with Carmelo Anthony, where I presume we've got to talk about Shawn Michaels. So he was on, and this is WrestleMania related in the sense that, you know, all the WWE types are doing all the interviews they can, hyping up WrestleMania as much as they can. Shawn Michaels ends up on a podcast with Carmelo Anthony, where I presumed Carmelo Anthony would be the one asking Shawn questions, but no, it was some other guy. So I got them two confused. Why would the podcast be like have the name of somebody anyway? And then he just sat there doing nothing. So he's got the easiest job in the world. Anyway, Shawn Michaels was asked why he never wrestled The Rock, and his line was pretty much because he didn't like me.
He didn't like me.
Oh, right. Okay, that's a good answer.
I will say this again. I think in years he got there's a big kerfuffle in the wrestling business about me and Hunter doing stuff to him and being mean and stuff like that. All of it way out of proportion. None of it even accurate. But things that he was when he was younger was fed a lot.
Can you just explain? He was fed a lot. You mean like he was pushed or something else?
Well, it sounds like Shawn saying that he was they were stirring the pot with Rocky and trying to get Rocky upset by using the people that have a complete track record of doing exactly what he's accused of. That's what he's saying. Somebody else was twisting Rocky up and testing Rocky. Now, I know for a fact that this was told to me from Rocky and other people that when he first won the Intercontinental title, he was traveling with like one of the Hebners, and I forget which one. It might have been Earl or somebody. And when they went to stop to get stuff to eat or whatever he did, Earl would kind of like, in a friendly way, be like, "Hey, did you know he's Intercontinental Champion? You know he's a WWE superstar. He's a big deal. He's the future, whatever it would be. Mostly Intercontinental Champion." And Rocky would humbly be like, "Oh, I'm just a regular guy." The test was to see if Rocky was going to be like, "Yeah, I'm a big deal," or whatever, I guess. Back then, they used to do that stuff all the time. Rocky would never play into that. So based off that, and also Rocky being in Hollywood, and even back then when I first met him in the early days, I went to one of the shows in Philly. He had a maturity, and plus he's third generation. You don't think his dad said, "They're going to totally twist you up," or he witnessed this kind of stuff as a kid in the locker room? You can get to that when he was a kid in the locker room in Hawaii with Shawn as well. He's been smartened up before he even stepped into tracks to train with Dr. Tom, before he even went to Memphis as Flex Cabana or Flex Havana, whatever it was. This is not true. You'd refuse to think that Rocky was so immature and naive that he was letting the boys twist him into the wind and get him riled up. That's the way I interpret it. He was fed a lot. And based on reputations of the two guys that Shawn is referring to, himself and Hunter, as they say in the NFL, come on, man. As they say in the NFL, come on, man.
Again, later on, and to this day, like we get along and we talk about stuff. When he first came in, again, he was just Rocky might be his son.
Mm-hmm.
And I could again, when he first went out there, he was getting a lot of the Rocky sucks chants and stuff like that. So there's always ribbing and stuff like that in the locker room. But when he came back, because I can't remember what it was. I want to say he might have had an injury that he took some time off. Okay. And that's when he really, my understanding is that he really thought about, again, how his career was going and wanted to change things up.
There were numerous times documented that Shawn Michaels messed with The Rock. But, I mean, how many stories have you heard with Rock, Triple H, and maybe the rest of the clique, or even after Kevin Nash and Diesel and X-Pac left? And it was just Shawn and Triple H on the booking committee, calling up Vince personally, etc., where they were screwing people over or giving their opinions or loudly burying people in the locker room, as Brett claims. just loudly, just to see if they get a reaction. Mark Henry nearly got himself fired within like a
He
week
wanted to kill him.
because they were winding him up.
Yeah. He really wanted to. I know Mark did. The thing that, obviously the thing that sticks out is what you referenced, is when Rocky and Hunter had the match, I think it was on SmackDown, and Shawn was the special guest referee and kicked Rocky very hard. And I thought, there's two different ways I heard about the aftermath. You said something I'd never heard before. I had heard that he said to Shawn afterwards, hey man, that was a little bit stiff or whatever. And Shawn said, well, if you can't take it, you shouldn't be in the business. I'm paraphrasing it. But you said that Rocky took Shawn down in Gorilla or something. During
That's exactly. So that was exactly said, as the story goes, is that, hey, well, you shouldn't be in the business, Shawn said. And then there was a kerfuffle in the back and Rock took him down and started trying to hit him. That is the story. That's all we know. And that actually came from Rocky Johnson, his dad, who relayed that story. Because I guess Dwayne Johnson, the person, isn't the kind of person to really air that or brag about that in public. But supposedly that is what happened. And that was... There were two times where I guess The Rock and Shawn Michaels were supposed to work together more, but because, once again, Shawn was an unreliable drug addict, he kept coming in, causing issues, and then they kept sending him home again. Same with WrestleMania. Well, he was the commissioner for like a few weeks. Like, you know, during the corporation days, the glory days.
That's when I wore the mustard brown jacket and outfit to replicate that when Hunter and Batista beat me up. Yeah.
He was sent home in like January, and then he came back for WrestleMania 15. And apparently, you'd have to ask Russo this as well, because I think he wrote about it in one of his books. That's where I cited it. Was that Shawn Michaels was trying to get The Rock out of the WrestleMania 15 main event, because it was going to be a triple threat match: Rock, Austin, Mankind, and for some reason Shawn was trying to get rid of The Rock from it and make it Austin versus Mankind, which made no sense.
I think the chess move that you don't have to appreciate it, but you have to be like, man, that's a lot of effort to put into that. That Hunter and Shawn, or whoever in that little clique, fought so far ahead and had their chess pieces lined up. They were trying to get Bret to win the Intercontinental title against Rocky to keep him away from them. It's like, man, you want to talk about a reverse Uno type thing. We want to really politic for you to go over, Bret, in a match and win a title against Rocky, but it's really to keep you out of this part of the title picture.
I'll give you the quote. So, numerous times Shawn messed with The Rock. Even in 97, he tried to get the IC title off Rocky and onto Bret as a way to bury them both. So, this is from the Hitman biography by Bret. That night had one more wrinkle. I was slated by the booking committee to challenge Rocky Maivia for the Intercontinental title, and Hunter was insisting I beat him. Firstly, early 97. Who is Hunter to insist anything? Isn't that a bit weird?
He really downplayed his role with that wrestling with shadows with the head down. I absolutely didn't know any. He always has tried to, in certain situations, separate himself from the sins of the clique. But this right here is proof that he was right in there.
Oh, dude, this is like quite a few months before Montreal as well, and Triple H knew. Absolutely knew, because he was on the phone with Vince, talking about Montreal, and Hunter was saying you should screw him and trying to be, the hardened veteran, I guess.
You know what? You know one point about this. I'm just playing devil's advocate with this. I think Shawn might have put Hunter to, put it up like saying you have to go talk to Bret and put this in his ear, like doing his work. Because if Shawn had went up, obviously Bret doesn't trust Shawn one iota, but Hunter doing it is kind of like being an avatar for Shawn, but a different voice. Dude, it's exhausting. Even trying to figure it out and break it down, it's exhausting.
Well, the reason the reason with this, I'll continue with the rest of it. So, Bret says that he had no reason to beat Rocky. Quote, it wouldn't build heat for my new heel turn, because Bret had this was just after WrestleMania, I guess, and would only undermine a real talent. I insisted on a disqualification instead, which infuriated Hunter. He and Shawn disliked Rocky intensely and were too myopic to see that Rocky was destined to become one of the all-time greatest megastars in the history of the business, The Rock. Looking back, I'm glad I got to work with him at least once. And also, in the same probably chapter, and I've got more stuff as well, is that Shawn Michaels insisting that Triple H should beat Brett on, I don't know if it was like on a South African Raw or something like that, somewhere around that time period, like post WrestleMania or around that time period. And the reasoning was from Vince, I think actually, was because Brett needed to, quote, show the boys that he'd do business by losing to Triple H clean. And Triple H was still the Connecticut snob character. He was nowhere near a main eventer. But that's where we are now.
Wow. I think the thing that sticks out, and this is a direct quote from Brett, right? These bold letters in the notes. This is Brett saying this in his book.
Quote, yeah.
Who is Hunter to be infuriated by what Brett is saying at this point? Didn't that stick out to you?
Mm.
So he blew up on Brett and got mad at Brett about it. What, to me, once you get that way, as we say in the business, if you're selling that much for it, my antennas go up even more. That's a bigger red flag of you're frustrated because there's something, you're playing some kind of game and you need this to finish your game. That would be, and I'm sure Brett knew that.
Quotes, another quote, in a Pittsburgh locker room on the 7th of February, I overheard Michaels vocally denounce a number of wrestlers, including Dwayne. Quote, poor Rocky, Maivia was being buried by Shawn and Hunter for supposedly not wanting to job, for not selling, and for stealing their spots. All untrue. Rocky was a good kid, and he tried to be polite and respectful, but he couldn't get them to like him at all. And I kind of think the reason they couldn't get him to like him at all is because they must have seen him as a threat.
100%. Here's a lesson for everybody out there that nobody ever seems to learn in any category of anything. Be careful who you treat bad that's below you, because they may be the head of TKO one day and be a board member, and you might be working directly for them. If not for the fact of just being a genuine person, and also Hunter and Shawn are amazing talents, but it's so fascinating that the people that have more solidified spots are the most paranoid and insecure about losing their solidified spots. Have you noticed that? That the people that shouldn't have anything to ever worry about are the most paranoid about that.
I mean, like people like Austin or Undertaker or people like that, or probably The Rock. And I mean, I think the most talented people aren't paranoid. I think the most talented people, or the most secure within themselves, want that challenge, or they want more people to work with.
I was hoping for your counter argument, because that's exactly the point I was going to make. Rocky, Austin, Taker, those guys have never, they protect their brand, they protect their character. There's two different things here going on. But this kind of behavior actually does knock down Hunter and Shawn's legacy. They aren't seen. Hunter has always been frustrated. He was never seen in the same light as The Rock, Austin, Taker. It's been a frustrating type of thing that he's always been, as Cornette says, the guy who works with the guy who draws money. Now, smoke and mirrors, Terminator entrances, all that stuff and everything, King of Kings, has elevated him. But when you talk, do you ever say Hunter, Shawn, Austin, Rock, Taker? No. Austin, Rock, Taker, Shawn, Hunter. That's just objectively true.